do not have a name yet. I'm Brian Brank Wegener.
He's not filming yet.
Okay, it doesn't matter. This is just a trial to figure out how we do this. And I don't honestly like the film portion is the thing I think we're the least interested in, me and Eric, but we can do it for the time if you want to do that. I just think we're more interested in just the talking.
I mean, I'm going to put up in different audio.
Okay, an audio file. Just because we hate audio stuff. But I'm excited to see what you do with it, and hopefully it's not as bad as we both, because we just don't like our faces and stuff on, things, but it just sucks. I'm sure you're not a big fan of like, hey, I'm
more interested in the video part.
Really? That's what I told Eric. I was like, you're way more interested in the video. I'm just way more interested in the audio.
How's our light, Nick? How's the light splash on here? Is it cool?
Cool.
Yeah, that'll
lights
key up.
actually look pretty nice. Okay, cool. So are we ready to go?
Yeah, I think we're ready.
I am Brian.
Hey.
Hello. Hello.
Come on.
We should probably each try separately.
The human bank was denied a bank loan. Right. Crap, I mess that line up every time I try to say it.
What is it?
The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. That's what news anchors say when they warm up for talking.
What?
So, we're getting my right side, but actually my left side's my good side because you can need to fix that in editing later.
You just like edit, but
we'll fix it in post.
Fix it in post, please.
Fix it in post.
That would be awesome though, like you fix the side of your face.
I want to be facing this way, and
I need a 360-degree camera.
Can you put me, but with smaller hands?
I would like
what
wings.
can you do about my
please.
hands?
I could. Yeah.
Give me some.
Give me wings.
I could.
Hello. I am Brian Brank Wegener.
Wait. I'm Josh Brank Peterson. How's this gonna work?
He is not Josh Brank Peterson.
I'm Josh Brank Bryanson. So.
Okay, damn it. We'll have to fix this in post.
We're having a problem here. We didn't go over our names before we started this.
So, sorry, got a bunch of losers here. Today we're here to talk about games, because we have no other subjects or any fun things. Okay, so we're here to talk about games.
Okay.
Games.
And we're talking about games, yes.
And games.
The fourth one is different.
The fourth one is a little bit different. But yeah, so we've just been playing some sweet games this week. And I want to start with my buddy Josh. What you been playing, bud?
All right, well, besides one that we're not supposed to talk about,
Which is, edit that out.
I have been playing, we'll fix that in post. I have been playing Gears of War 4, which is fantastic. Have you guys played it yet?
I have.
I've only barely started it.
I played it.
But it's on my list of needs.
That intro is pretty sweet. Did you go through the time lapse intro?
Which one?
The beginning, where they go
where
through
they show like from the Pendulum Wars, right?
Yeah, it's really cool.
I played that and it's fun. I beat it once, but I'm going back and playing it again just because I didn't have glasses and I couldn't see what I was doing, so everything was blurry.
Yeah, I got it. I received my ability to play it at the same time as another unmentionable game.
It's
I had a choice to make, but I'm very much anticipating it.
Yeah, and did you play in co-op?
Yes, I did actually. I live streamed it with some buddies, so it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Like compared to the last Gears of War, like it was really iffy storytelling. Like you were kind of like, okay, well you can't do anything about it. They kind of just said this is what's happening, and you just got to deal with it. So, but Gears of War 4 is kind of a blank slate. It's kind of like what they're doing with Star Wars, with handing it off to a younger generation. And the storytelling was good. The dialogue between Marcus and his son is really good. I don't want to spoil the ending because
you
were
spoiled.
playing it, right?
Marcus is dead. Sorry, we all played Gears of War 3 where he died.
No,
so
He did not die in Gears of War 3.
Spoiled that
He's
ending.
just really old now, but just as cranky and funny. So
I actually thought Gears of War 3 was pretty dang good. I mean, I love the series. So
I didn't end up beating it.
I thought you kind of go in with like, this is Fast and Furious, but science fiction shooters. And there were some moments like with Dom and stuff in Gears of War 3 where I was like, wow, I was not expecting to be
sad,
kind of like taken by that.
Emotional.
So,
yeah.
But I think
It's all about family, man.
it's all about family. I was waiting for them to pour out Coronas for him.
Oh, you can have any beers you want as long as it's a Corona.
And have you played anything else though recently?
Yes.
A little bit old, Josh.
I got Assassin's Creed the Ezio collection against my better judgment.
Yes,
and
indeed. Yeah.
because the thing about like remakes, like HD remasters, is that you don't the games that you're playing have come out so long ago you don't remember how much of a pain in the butt they were to play.
Mhm.
So like I'm playing I'm almost at the end of number 2 right now, and I'm like so mad. Like it makes me swear, it makes me throw my controller, and it's just the controls are so sticky. You stick to everything. You're like, hey, I want to jump to this, but I'm just going to jump in the middle of nowhere. I want to do a leap of faith. Oh, congratulations, you're going to fall off of a building and die.
Yeah, it was great in its time, like 2007, 2008.
Yeah,
but...
Actually, it's in ancient Italy.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Sorry.
Renaissance.
Renaissance.
Renaissance time when this game came out. Did some time travel. But yeah, it was great in 2008, and I feel like we played them all before, and if you have an Xbox, you can just play the other one for free if you own it, so yeah, you made a blunder by picking that one up, bud.
I hold the unpopular opinion that Assassin's Creed 1 is the best.
Ugh.
So
I liked that game.
to me, it's got the most like intrigue and mystery. You're in ancient Israel, which is kind of like a trip, and it's just like it's before they blow it with all the storytelling, so it leaves you like with a lot of questions in a good way, and it's just like a lot more like less is more. Whereas it's like now like and Assassin's Creed 2 is great with all the added stuff, but then it's all this added stuff, and it starts like in the same way that I think around that time everything was really saturated with shooters. Now we're really saturated with open world games.
Yeah.
I think that starts with Assassin's Creed 2, and then everything becoming like, is this an RPG? No, it's just a game with RPG elements. And then every game does it now. So
what would you classify Assassin's Creed as?
Open world action
I mean,
adventure game.
it's an action game because I mean RPG elements are weird because for the most part, what we consider RPG elements have nothing to do with RPGing, like role playing. Because you look at like Japanese role playing games, and it's not like you don't have like a
class system.
You don't have a class. I mean, sometimes you do, but you don't have like a role in this. Like it's a predetermined story. So I think they call them that because the old ones are based on like the mechanics of like Dungeons and Dragons and things like that. Like I know everyone that invented Dragon Quest is like a big D&D person and big Ultima people and all that kind of stuff. So I think now it's kind of one of those things like where you call like rock music a certain thing, but it's very different than
like metal, new metal.
Yeah, those are like
experimental metal.
Like it's technically all rock music and it's technically none of it rock music at the same time.
Space music, yeah.
But I just consider them like action adventure games. I mean, they're closer to Zelda than anything else.
That makes sense.
They have a lot of Zelda elements, and I do think that
And you just say Zelda elements.
Zeldments,
Zeldments.
they're like mints that
Zelda
you
mints.
Zeldas on them.
Yeah.
But there's
That's
just
a
something.
marketing idea.
Edit this out. We gotta save this one for. We're gonna make billions, okay, guys? Nintendo's gonna give us those rights.
You heard
like
it here
that.
first.
Yeah.
I wish I could snap and then switch it over. But anyways,
Fix that in post.
fix that. But yeah, those were great games. I don't think that they deserve HD treatment. They already are playable on both PlayStation and their ridiculous PlayStation paid subscription service and an Xbox One backwards compatibility. Good games. Nobody needs to play them anymore. They can die where they belong, you know?
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, I mean, they're okay. I have a similar feeling with the new Skyrim, but that's not something we're talking about today. Anyways, though, I'm going to talk about some of the sweet, sweet games I've been playing.
Please, do tell.
I dipped my feet into a little bit of Overwatch recently. I don't know if you guys got a chance to play that. Have either of you played that?
I have
Watched
not.
you play it.
I know that if I start that game, I'm just going to lose hours of my life to it.
It is really fun.
I just don't care for competitive shooters. They just bore me.
I bet if you played that one, you'd change your mind. Because
I'm not saying that I wouldn't like it. I'm sure I would love it because Blizzard crafts games very well. But I don't I play games for a different set of reasons.
For like stories.
Story, music, and that kind of stuff. And I know there's characters, and it's great for people with Tumblr accounts to get really into the characters and stuff. But I'm just not in.
See, that's true gamer right there, because it's not like someone who lines up once a year to play Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Did you play Call of Duty?
Well, I play Call of Duty every year.
I mean,
Of course,
there's
that's the
nothing
only game
wrong
I
with
own.
it, but I think as people play, like I like the more like I play mostly RPGs
Yeah.
or things that are at least somewhere in that realm, because there's so many games at this point that like people I think get really bad at curating their time and their experiences.
Yeah.
So it's like you end up overcommitting yourself, like, oh, I gotta play through this game and this game and this game. It's like I'm not gonna buy Call of Duty even if it's really good because I know that I'm not gonna want to play it.
Yeah, but Overwatch, the thing I like about it is it's a game where if you can take yourself away from like the games you want to finish and you decide to try it, it is probably the most forgiving, fun multiplayer game ever. It is a game where they don't have KDs and they only show you all the good stuff that happens, where all the characters have enough personality where you're kind of interested, but not so much that they're like, oh, I got this annoying quip that I have to hear every time I choose Diva.
Can you do LAN parties with it?
That's the only thing we care about here.
See, that's the deciding factor.
That's
for
like
me.
that's the funniest thing I think that we'll look back on is that the idea of like hanging out with people and playing games, it wasn't like a thing that went away because it needed to go away. It was literally companies deciding for an entire generation, like, you are not allowed to do this.
They were like, we want to create another generation of reclusives.
Well,
Yeah.
the title of our podcast is landboys.com. We are
it's
all
actually,
about...
it's actually Brank. This is the Brank podcast.
No, it's not. Damn it. As landboys.com, that's all we care about. No, but I do agree that you don't get to play with your friends as much, and even the voice chat in modern day gaming is pretty much gone. People
No,
don't
it's like the
talk
same.
to each
It's
other.
like the same thing with like politically, like with where people talk about like degradation of food quality or like the government doing this and that. That's what the companies are doing. They're keeping us from playing LAN.
Substergo.
Political. That's when we have the red X that comes over the screen.
Can
That
we
says-
can we broadcast this from Donald Trump's mouth?
Yes, I.
Is that
So we
possible?
are now a political
Yes, I.
game
Yes, I.
podcast.
Yes, I. Yes, I. Yes, I. Yes, I. Yes, I.
Yeah.
So, what have you been playing, Eric?
I have been playing a handful of things. I just finished Final Fantasy 15.
Wow.
We're gonna have to
That's a
bleep
good
that
one.
out.
To bleep that
We
out.
gotta
Leave that out. We're not
So
allowed
get
to
back
talk
to
about
that.
that one yet.
Before that, I was playing a little bit of Majora's Mask on 3DS, the remake, and I also in 2 weeks put 100 hours into the Dragon Quest VII remake and finished that
Yeah, Dragon Quest
really
VII
fast because it was
great.
amazing. And then I've also been playing my back catalog. So I've been playing through this JRPG called Resonance of Fate that was like under the radar because it's the company that makes all the Star Ocean games, like Tri-Ace, but it
okay.
wasn't published by Square, it was published by Sega. So but it's actually like a really great game.
Yeah.
I was like really surprised by
Do,
it.
do you play
That's really cool.
Tales of Bis?
I can't stand Tales
Like
games.
I've been talking to people about those games and they recommend like the crap out of them to me and I just can never.
they're wrong.
They are great.
Yeah.
Like, Tales, like the Tales games, I think the first couple are pretty good. Like Tales of Destiny on PlayStation 1 is really great, but they do that thing where, I mean, it's just if you're a big anime fan, like you would love Tales, but if you're not, like I think Final Fantasy has its place because it's the JRPG for everyone in the world that doesn't like anime, because they're just mostly cool games, except for the later ones when they get really anime, but
It's more like mainstream kind
yeah,
of.
but Tales games just tend to be like, it's like it's just constantly like, it's like tons of 18-year-old boys with
18-year-old
memory
men.
problems as protagonists, and they do this thing that they do in anime that I can't stand where all of the like it'll show like the big bad guy like send out my generals, and all of his crazy army generals are like 12-year-old kids that we're supposed to believe like lead
Yeah.
these armies and have these powers.
Child soldiers.
I was playing for a while Tales of the Abyss, which is supposed to be one of the better ones, and they did put it out on 3DS. And I really tried to like it, and there's a female character in that game named Tyr that I enjoyed her character, but the main character is so annoying, and like the story is like the lore of the game is like music based, so everyone talks about like resonating off of phonons, and it just every time someone opens their mouth it sounds like they're just making up stuff. So it's like trying to tell the story with lore where you're like, oh my gosh, you have the seventh power to hear this sound. and it's boring.
It's like a fart.
I
I can hear.
have a counter argument. I did play Tales of Zestiria 5 minutes, so I think I know everything you can know about a Tales of game.
I think Star Ocean is a better series.
Best 5
Star
minutes
Ocean is fun. I play Star Ocean.
Because they started out, I believe, as the same company or something like that. Like it was I think Tales. There's some history where Star Ocean and Tales were like originally the same team and they split off, and then I think so they might have made Tales of Fantasia and then Tri-Ace formed and made Star Ocean and split off from them, or it might have been the other way around.
And Tales of Fantasia is considered to be one of the better games
That's the
in
first
the series.
one. Yeah. I mean, it's first.
Well, I like those games because, like Final Fantasy, they exist under the same brand, but they take place in different.
That's a good thing about
Timelines.
Tales, which is cool. But the problem is that they make up. I mean, I don't ever see compelling anything when I look at them. I'm just like, this just looks like there's gonna be a bunch of made up words and crazy things. Like the character design, for the most part, I'm not interested in because they all just look like boys. And maybe that might just be like growing up and sort of being like, okay, like I've been playing JRPGs my whole life, and like I'm 28. But if I want to play new ones, I still have to like assume the role of an 18-year-old boy with amnesiac and superpowers, or with amnesia.
They just call it Tales of Puberty.
Yeah, Tales of Puberty.
Okay.
We're gonna need to edit this whole out because this is animefans.com, the podcast about anime and for anime fans.
No, I don't. I don't think that there's.
It's the Puberty podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
It's a big old. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It doesn't appeal to me. I've realized. So it's kind of like.
Top 10 Eric's games of the year.
All
Tales
games.
Tales all.
Tales 1,
Yeah.
Tales 2, Tales 3. But anyways, let's get to the big elephant in the room, the game we haven't talked about yet. Eric, you just finished it, last night?
Simpsons Road Rage.
Simpsons, one of the best, man. Everybody knows that. Top 10
Classic.
games of all time. You get out of your car.
Residence of Fate, what I was talking about. Just a quick plug on that, because it is really surprisingly good. I read a bunch
Selling
of
millions nowadays.
reviews on all the main websites that are like, oh, it takes too long to understand, all this kind of stuff, and it's really not that way. And when I started the game, the music is like a mix between the Final Fantasy VIII soundtrack and Star Wars. And so I was like really taken right away. And then the world itself is kind of Final Fantasy VII-ish. You're like in a central town in what appears to be like a ruinous world, even though obviously in 7 you leave the walls and find out there's a whole thing. This just takes place there, but it's pretty interesting, and it's a good game. And the main character is not 12, so
Yeah, that's already a good mark in my
yeah.
mind.
Well, I mainly want the 12-year-olds. So
Yeah.
I don't like any game. I mean, I want them my age. I want them to speak to my demographic. As a 12-year-old boy, I want games that are about me. But about the big topic, Eric, what else have you played and finished recently?
I finished Final Fantasy 15 yesterday.
Badoosh! The best game this year, right?
Well, it
Right.
came out last
Right.
year.
Right, we're in 2016. This is
Technically,
we're
it
gonna
came
pre-record
out last
this
year.
for 2016.
This is
We are going to send this back in time.
Putting this
to
up
the
December
viewers.
29th, 2016. Please post date this.
yeah.
We were right.
So what do you think, man?
I actually really loved it. I was really surprised because I think the biggest issue I've had with Final Fantasy games in my adult life is the animeification of them, mainly by letting the Kingdom Hearts guy design everything about them so that everyone looks ridiculous. But once I found out that they kicked that guy off the project because Kingdom Hearts is a whole different can of worms. But I was pretty excited. The kind of openness that the director, is it Tabata? Is that his name?
I think
Had,
it's
and like I
Tommy
remember
Tabata.
reading like conversations he had with Sakaguchi, who invented Final Fantasy. And he seemed like he had some good ideas. I still wasn't sold on the character designs because I'm not a fan of Tetsuya Nomura's character designs.
Tetsuya Nomura song.
Sonic thing. But
Proper.
once I started the game, actually, I fell in love with it pretty well. And I think I remember reading something at some point about Noctis, the main character's personality, where it talked about he had like a rough childhood or something, and he's like exposed to death really early on. And I thought I was going to get another of the like reinterpretation of Cloud, where it's like when you played Final Fantasy VII, Cloud's like a douche.
Broody.
And then, well, he's not. And then once like once they put Cloud in Kingdom Hearts and made Advent Children, they turned him into like a Hot Topic kid. But before that, like when you actually play 7, he's like super cocky and like all this kind of stuff. And so it's like when they went back to him, they made him this like Cloud kind of guy. So I thought that's what I was in for. I was like, dang, I'm gonna be playing 15 with this kid who's gonna be like really dark and all this kind of stuff, but not at all. Noctis is actually like a rad character. I loved him, and I loved all the characters actually.
How long did you end up playing the game for?
I think I beat it in 60 hours. I could have done it a lot faster. I did a lot of the open world stuff in the game, and there's still plenty to do, but I think I ended the game around level 77 with a good chunk of the like Ascension grid. I did all the royal arms and stuff like that, so a lot of the hunts as well.
What about you, man? How long did you end up playing it for?
I totaled in probably about 71 hours.
Oh wow, okay, I didn't expect that.
Because I did all the side quests before I finished the game.
I was trying to do that, and then I just got to the point where I really wanted to see the end, and then I went and did it. Yeah.
I mean, because I'm one of those people who will play RPGs, and I'll be like, yes, 100% completion, gonna get these achievements.
That game you can't do
whatever.
100% completion.
But yeah, so I'm like, I want to play as much as I can before I get to the end of it, because I was reading that obviously there's a point where you can't do any more side quests.
But you can go back after you finish.
Yeah. But spoilers. Yeah, but I wanted to do as much as I can and level up as much as I can so I could put the least amount of effort possible into fighting the last bosses.
Okay, and spoilers. That was the spoiler. His leveling up.
Well, what's great, something great in that game is the whole like leveling up system.
Yeah,
it's really addicting.
It is
where it's like you're like, oh my gosh, I have 70,000 experience points saved up. I might as well just get another 130,000 and then go to that hotel and get triple. So you like get to that point where like, well, because that's why I did a lot of the side quests, because I'm like, well, I'm just gonna do side quests for a while because I've already got so much. It would be a shame to waste it.
Yeah.
It's easy to bank, and you don't actually have to. The side quests pay out a lot of experience, whereas like the old games, I felt like your main experience was from just fighting random battles. So,
I mean, old Final Fantasy games are an interesting thing because they're not really like side quest RPGs.
Yeah,
actually, something that is still great about them, outside of 10-2, which is actually still a pretty good game in its own way, when outside of that percentage system, which is god awful, but something that's great about them is that they don't do the thing where it's like, okay, you have to play the game twice, go to like the crazy like hardest dungeon and fight like a 3-hour battle to see the true ending kind of thing. Like Final Fantasy has never like block off your experience that way, which is really nice. And that's the same thing they did here. They gave you way more side content than any other Final Fantasy game, I think, unless you're counting the online ones, but you can still like, you can beat the game and get the whole story without having to like grind for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, and let's talk about the story too. The story, a lot of people are saying they don't like it, but I liked it. I liked it mostly for the fact that like 13.2 and 13.3, like you really like, by the time the game was over, you're like, what the heck did I just watch?
Here's the thing with 13, because I thought 13 was a great game.
No opinion here.
And I finished it thinking like, you know what? This is a worthy Final Fantasy game. And then 13.2 happens, and it's like, remember the end of 13? That didn't happen.
Oh.
And then they undid it. 13.2 was the worst game, I think, of the entire Final Fantasy series.
It didn't make any sense.
It
Like
made
not
zero sense.
just the story, but the battle systems and like just the way everything was created.
Yeah,
like it was
because Lightning Returns is a weird game, but it could only have been that way because of how bad they ruined it with 13.2. Here's my problem, and I've said this to you, like I've talked to you about this before. But the main complaint,
right?
No, actually, whatever.
I was not a big fan of Hope or Vanilla, but I only played 13.
So the big complaint about 13 is that it was too linear for the first half of the game until you get to Grand Pulse. And so their solution to that was to say, we're doing something like Chrono Trigger, which was a very linear game with the time travel.
But it had open experiences where even though it was linear, you felt like you could move.
Right, but it's all an illusion in a sense.
Yeah.
So, but with 13.2, it was crazy that their intuition was to say, well, we're going to make this game a time travel game so you can go to different points in time. Because they literally, humanity crash landed on Grand Pulse, a massive planet that's been unexplored for thousands of years. at the end of 13, they had a whole open world game right in front of them, and they're like, instead, we're only going to go to the same areas you already went to, but you can do it at different points in time.
Ooh,
so it's like
Back to the Future too.
Yeah, but it's like they really missed an opportunity. It would have been really easy to make a non-linear sequel to Final Fantasy 13 without having to tell a story with like lore, which is what they did, where it's like, oh well, lightning disappeared because the god did this and broke these rules, and then chaos thing and all that kind of stuff, and it's so convoluted.
And
it was like,
and just the fact that it's a Final Fantasy game, you're like, okay, well, I guess I just have to deal with
right,
this.
that's exactly what I did. I was like, I guess I have to deal with this, but it was almost like they took a page out of the Kingdom Hearts book and just like made it as messy as possible. Yeah. But what I meant is that I thought 13 had great characters, great music, and it looked cool. So they could have so easily made a like explore Grand Pulse. You know, you can be like, oh my gosh, humanity's on this brand new place, or but it's also an ancient place. Like you can explore something and like open up some ancient terror. Like there's plenty of ways it could have gone without having to like retcon the ending to 13.
And similar to 15 and this point, like this is something that I wish that they would do more is like, yeah, 13 had its own story and you want to make a sequel. You can still explore the same world that you created in 13 without using the same characters or the same exact plot or predicament.
They could have done that too.
The world doesn't need to be destroyed
let's
every
not forget
time.
that they had that plan though. Like they had Final Fantasy
13 verses
13
and all
and
these.
Final Fantasy 13, the one that ended up being
Type Zero.
Yeah. But the point is that it's just funny that their response to, like their solution to the linear Final Fantasy 13 was to create a time travel game with limited environments when the end of the game literally ended with people now living on a giant planet that was 1,000, like massive compared to the moon they lived on. So. And
yeah, that's 13 is, man, we could have a literal podcast just about 13. So we need to get back to 15 because
that's Brian keeping us on track.
I know, I'm sorry, I'm the bully, but we need to talk about 15 story because I think we all enjoyed it, but there's obviously huge flaws. Everybody who said those complaints, they were not lying. There are big flaws to the game.
Well, my thing is the double ending. I see why they did it. Because they were like, in an interview, the creator was like, well, we wanted players to be able to interpret like what actually happened.
Yeah.
But that feels like a cop-out to me. Like,
I mean, it's the same thing. I remember when I was a kid and I beat Final Fantasy VII, and the end of Final Fantasy VII, everything just blows up, and that's all. And then it jumps to 400 years later, and you see the dog or Red 13 and stuff.
Spoilers. Finish that game.
I remember being.
It's only 20 years old.
I remember being 12 or 13 and getting into an argument with another student who was telling me that everyone died, and that's what happened. I was like, I don't think everyone died. I think they just didn't show what happens because it's interpretable. Yeah. So, but I think that's kind of the same thing because obviously the double ending for 15, you're kind of like, okay, so was that dream? Or...
I kind of took it to be like, okay, this is how the game actually ends, and it's depressing as crap, but for a lot of you guys who wanted to see the game end happier, this is just to please you.
Real quick, to switch something about that, for those of us who, this is a spoiler, off topic, who watch films, there was a movie called La La Land, which came out, that had a very similar ending that reminded me almost exactly of 15, but it was not interpretable because at the very end they put that. And I just want to bring that up because I don't want to say the end.
They had a dance fight against Ifrit.
They had a dance fight against Ifrit. A guy who's like 30 generations old comes back and kills him. No, but I mean, it's the idea that a lot of things are trying where it's like, we're going to talk about this, but maybe we're also going to rewind and show you how things could have been. That's one of the ways that I could interpret things. But I don't want to get too off into La La Land, but I thought those are weirdly very comparable endings and ideas for stories.
That's our promotion for the movie. Go see it still in theaters.
Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone, it's glorious, okay?
I can't talk bad about Ryan Gosling. I just can't do it. I won't do it.
This is a anti-Ryan Gosling podcast. We demand you speak negatively.
This is the Ryan Gosling podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
I refuse. You know what? Sometimes I don't want to like him, but as soon as he gets on screen, I'm like,
I love this guy.
So this is the way it is.
We're not going to be able to cover all of 15, but I think the one thing that we can cover, at least here, and I'm sure if we do these, we're going to probably talk about more, is Chapter 13. That is probably the most, divisive chapter in the game, because while I didn't hate it as much as most critics, I found extremely boring, and I saw what they were doing, but the amount of time they put me in this position where I'm hiding and kind of playing slow was really...
That was frustrating. I felt like Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think it was that bad, but again, that's because, I mean, if you go on any website, it's critic culture, so everyone, like, is just so cheesy with the way they critique games, and they just make, like, you know, arguments out of everything because they need to, and it's like their thing.
But obviously, they had enough problem with it that the director's going back to change it, which
I don't
is
think he's
a
changing it.
strange-
I think
Really?
I think they're adding cutscenes.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh, okay.
But they're also changing the ring system, is what he mentioned. So
Oh, really?
he's going to make you
I
more powerful. I don't
didn't-
know, because...
I didn't hate it. I just didn't like the idea of being trapped in a hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The end of it was probably the best story chunk of almost the last game. Those last 4 chapters are all really interesting, from like the train ride past, you know, going into too spoiler territory, but the blindness and all those other things. Like, those were all really interesting, but chapter 13 at the end kind of taught you who Arden was. And otherwise you didn't know who the bad guy was.
My biggest problem with that more was that they didn't go into too much backstory about Prompto.
Yeah, or the Emperor.
Well, they
That
kind of
would've
like,
been nice.
and what happened to him, they kind of like opened this box and say, hey, Prompto's not actually, spoiler alert.
Well,
Prompto-
he sort of is, but
They didn't like, I guess you have to go back and watch the anime. They said they explained more about it in there, but.
you saw it. And
I
said,
did see it. It's like 8 minutes. I don't remember anything about that
Really?
being in it. It was mainly about him being like a fat kid growing up and wanting to be friends with Noctis, so he sheds all this weight. It was actually kind of touching and really cool for someone who's not really into anime. It was 8 minutes, really concise, and that's what I felt. Maybe I missed a subplot. Maybe I was watching and doing something else. I don't remember, but I don't remember it being like, oh wow, he's for the Empire. You know, like he's friends with Noctis growing up. I assume they all live in Insomnia. So unless he's on a newspaper or something, I don't know.
Just as a thing, like I actually enjoy a lot of anime, but there's a big difference between a Studio Ghibli film and a harem anime. So it's like I see more of, but my whole thing that why I didn't really care is because lore I think is like kind of like the modern day like bad storytelling device that we get really used to. I think it all started with Batman Begins, where it's like, how did Batman become Batman? And then they reboot everything with like the gritty this. So it's like what makes Prompto like a good character and what makes his part of the game really great is that motel scene where he's talking with Noctis about.
Did you get that? That was a totally optional scene, I think.
It is optional.
Yeah, there's a lot of actually
the
really
part
cool
where
scenes that
where
are
he like
totally
really opens up and he's like, when I'm with you guys, I forget about when I'm not.
Yeah.
Like that was like I was like, whoa! I was not
That's
expecting
deep.
that.
It
heavy
is
of a moment.
a
But that's the thing,
romance for the
like,
ages.
that made his part of the story not like, oh, is he part demon robot or something like that? Like that kind of stuff doesn't really tell like a good story. And that's what Final Fantasy has always done. Is they usually tell interesting character stories and they're really light on the lore. So I think that's where it's like, because every world is different for the most part.
Yeah.
So there's basic like cosmologies and stuff like that, and there's things like that change, and they kind of
The
give you
gods.
that. But in the end, you're playing like the character story, where it's like,
Well, that's what drives people to that franchise.
Yeah, and it's really easy to follow and it's fun to play. We actually probably could have a podcast just about Final Fantasy 15 because we probably won't even have the time to go into much more. But real quick, one last question about it before we take a short break. What do you guys think about the game? Do you guys like it? Do you love it? Do you like it a lot compared to the franchise? Like, what do you feel about it? I'll start with you, Josh, and I'll end with you.
I love it. I think it might be my favorite run so far of like the newer generation of Final Fantasies. It's just because you can sit there, you can play. You don't have to really like stretch your mind out trying to figure out what's going on. And the battle system, you don't have to sit there for hours and hours and just run through bushes and stuff, hoping that something pops up and attacks you.
So you can gain levels.
Yeah, you gain levels pretty easy, and you can, even if you don't do the side quests, you can still scroll through the game pretty quickly and still have a good story. So it's they succeeded like where a lot of the older Final Fantasies kind of like lose their audiences.
I definitely agree in that it's one of my favorites. It is a really good sign for Final Fantasy. I think a lot of people who like RPGs are pretty happy with it.
Weren't they saying that like this was kind of the deciding factor of whether or not
the
Final
series
Fantasy moved forward?
They were. I'm hoping that their expectations were a little bit lower than they expected, because they said they needed 10 million copies to be sold. I don't know if that's lifetime, so we're hoping maybe PC will add to it.
Great reviews.
Yeah,
I would be
but it's still
so
6
surprised
million.
if they're not already in development on 16
I
after 10
hope.
years.
And they've got that cash cow
released,
14
remember they
too.
released that thing, the Arnie's Philosophy or whatever, that CG video?
I think so. Yeah, a long time ago.
When they released that, they had people, if you're on their mailing list, like take a survey of like, is this what you want to see Final Fantasy look like in the future? Like this kind of this. And while a lot of the old guard of Final Fantasy games no longer work at Square, which is part of why it's a changing thing. The guy that directed 6 and 9, I think, Ito.
Okay, yeah, I think he's still there.
I've always heard rumors that they're supposed to give him one of the modern ones to direct.
Okay.
And even Sakaguchi, the father of Final Fantasy, when
Walker.
he was asked who could save Final Fantasy, he said that guy.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that they give that guy the next Final Fantasy. That would be killer.
So really quick then, what do you do? How do you feel about it? Do you like it?
Yeah, I loved it. I try not to. I'm not really huge on making favorites and lists.
Yeah, definitely. I know we're not.
Yeah,
well, Eric, you need to say right now, and then you need to try all the rest of them.
Because my favorite
Top
is
3, go.
My favorite is 4 because I have been playing that for 24 years of my life, so it's just like that will just always be the mix of nostalgia and all that kind of stuff. But it was great. I think that there's definitely like a lot of design issues that are completely overlooked by it being like a really lovable world with characters and things that I was just really drawn to. So like I could pick apart like little things, but I don't care to, like, because it worked.
Yeah, and there's every game has flaws, but I think
something that's funny though is the whole plot hole concept where people are like, oh, there's plot holes. It's funny because normally when I hear someone say there's plot holes in a movie or a game, it usually means that something like doesn't make sense or contradicts or something like that. With this game, literally there's just holes where they just didn't fill in details.
Yeah.
So it's not like oh, wait a minute, how could he do this if he was this? There's not like that. It's more just like you can just tell that there's probably a whole bunch of stuff that's supposed to happen with the Empire and the bad guys that they just didn't have time to include.
And I'm sure, like, because they're doing expansions for each of the characters, I'm sure they'll go back and touch on some of that stuff.
That's my thought too. I think that I'm looking forward to it. I hope they don't do a bunch of sequels with it.
I wouldn't mind something that takes place in the same universe, maybe not as heavy of a plot line. Maybe it doesn't need to be a saving the world.
I'm still hoping they're going to
scenario.
tie it back into Final Fantasy 13, like they're.
Versus.
So we can figure out how that works out finally.
This is lightning.
That's the catch. And with that, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back and discuss the games coming out this year of our Lord 2017. So talk to you soon.
Join us on the Podcast Radio Network at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, or download it this week with bonus content on iTunes, Mixcloud, Google Play, Podcast.com, Stitcher, and the ESO, Tangentbound, and Gonna Geek networks, as we delve into the pop culture cosmos.
So, we're back, and we're here to talk about some of the games of 2017. What are you guys looking forward to playing? You first, Eric.
We just discussed in our break that he was going to go first.
Sorry, don't listen to that. That was edit
I
this
just
out.
completely forgot what I was going to say now because you stepped on my lines.
Sorry, we just cut out that whole last
What do we write these
section.
scripts for? Jeez. Are we on Act 3?
Okay, let's see. This is the part where you don't say Eric and you say Josh. Okay, if that's how it's going to be, what are you looking forward to playing, Josh?
Scalebound.
Okie doke. Okay, that's exciting.
It's going to be
Idiot.
Do you guys know something that I don't?
Oh my goodness, Josh,
Yeah.
we're going to punch you in the face.
It
Of
already-
course, everybody
It
knows.
already came out, and it's just called Bayonetta 2.
Bayonetta 2.
Two
It's
came out
called
on-
Not Happening.
It came out on Wii U 2 years ago.
2 years
Pretty good.
ago, yeah.
Your character has a lot of hair.
That's where all the funding
She
went to.
wears her
And,
hair, okay?
Instead of dragon armor, you're actually very busty. So
Yeah, hair technology.
hair technology, yeah.
That's what we're all about.
Just for a second, though, let's talk about Scalebound. Platinum Games. What's going on? What
I would be very surprised if the game came out and it was good. That's my thought.
I've heard
number
it
of
was
reasons.
trouble.
I think touching back on 15, the same reason that Square finally kicked Kingdom Hearts guy off 15, because it's like you've had 10 years and this is a disaster, or 7 years or whatever, and this is a disaster. There's too much time going into development, and it's probably because that guy, like, I mean, look at Kingdom Hearts. It's really fun, and it's got some memorable characters, but it's a mess. Like the story, the plot, all that kind of stuff. And I've heard that guy literally say, or I read an interview, he was like, I just kind of make it up as I'm going, which you can tell. He's like, oh, well, this happens, and now it's his Inside Out nobody, and it's his this backwards universe version of himself.
These are Kingdom Hearts spoilers.
But
Sorry.
Mickey Mouse is on the screen. Don't worry about it.
But I mean, that's the thing. It's like every Kingdom Hearts game, he just comes up with a new character whose soul is going to eventually be inside of Sora, and it's like kind of weird. But I think I have a feeling that Scalebound, especially since the guy, I forget what his name is.
I don't remember either, but
from Devil May
Dante.
Cry.
No, but he's. I
The,
read
head of
something that
Lightning.
this is like his dream game or something like that, and he probably got too ambitious, and there's probably no one in the studio because he turned everyone down that said like scaled him back into something that actually was going to work, because it was probably the same, where it's like 15 has remnants of tons of undeveloped systems that they didn't need. Like they didn't need Chocobo racing. I didn't do it once.
Yeah,
It was
they didn't
a cool idea that wasn't utilized.
Same with like the ring magic thing. Like you can tell like that there's something more that could have been there, but there isn't. Like that's probably what happens, where he's like, they developed part of the concept and he's like, oh, what if we do this idea? And what if we do this idea? And what if we do this idea? This is my dream game. I'm going to do it all.
Yeah.
And then
the money ran out, and the patience.
And Phil Spencer actually said something about that. Somebody's like, hey, why don't you just give him more money? It's like, sometimes if you just add more money, it won't make something better. And they probably could have made the game with another $10 million, but realistically, it doesn't make the game good,
Cost, I don't think. It looked fun from like the gameplay I saw. Just the
I would like to play it, but
it's a hack and
not
slash
coming
game.
out.
You ride on dragons. I mean, that's like every kid's.
Yeah, and it's got 4-player co-op. It had a lot of really cool ideas, but from what I heard from the people who had played it or seen it recently, it was not like going well. It wasn't smooth. It was choppy. They had a similar problem Microsoft did with Recore this year, where Recore is a game where they probably should have given it more funding, but they didn't. So I think Microsoft is starting to make these decisions that are hard.
In all honesty, was anyone really that excited about Recore? I remember watching
I
saw the video
because it said Metroid Prime was part of the creators, and
that's like
that was
Nintendo's
a great game.
been riding the Metroid coattails forever. But like when I saw the video, I was like, that looks fun. I'm not gonna rush out to buy it. Maybe when it's on sale, I'll pick it up and try it out. But I wasn't like super stoked about it.
It's a budget game, but my point was being that like Microsoft at some point has to stop games that aren't doing well, because they are already bringing us backwards compatibility, and there's a bunch of other games like Crackdown that they're spending money on, Sea of Thieves. So if these games aren't going to be doing good, like a good example would be Street Fighter V with Sony. They brought out a game. It is not doing well at all. You can already find it for $20, and most people hate it, and it's like totally everybody's against it. Would it be better to bring out, or
Microsoft doesn't have the benefit that Sony has, which is the internet vote, so that they can release stupid games that suck and have the internet still worship them for it. So
I think a big problem too is that they need to stop like creating cinematic trailers for things and showing that E3 and getting people stoked about it, and then
everybody needs to stop doing that.
Because you look at Xbox's like 4 original games they had announced for 2014.
Yeah, a lot of people said that whole thing was fake.
Like
because
Project Spark, Scalebound, and then there's 2 others I can't remember their names.
Crackdown 3, and I think Sea of Thieves.
And we have not seen any of those yet.
Well, Sea of Thieves is coming out this year, and Crackdown 3 is probably coming out this year.
They have a habit of just announcing games to get people excited, and then we never see them.
That's the same thing with every company. Like Sony has that problem. Nintendo kind of.
Here's the problem. Going back to why Assassin's Creed is the root of all evil in this generation.
This is an anti-Assassin's Creed podcast.
It's because every game has to be like, people are so up on the capitalism stint where it's like, oh, if I'm paying $60 for a game, it better be the only game I ever need.
Yeah,
but that's the problem there is that if every $60 game that comes out is 100+ hours of content, there's no way to play every game, so no games are going to sell, except for people that just impulsively buy things. So I think that's like part of what happened with games. No one just wants to make like a content like dialed in, thoughtful experience because everything has to have open world elements and online elements. Like I remember when Mass Effect 2 or Mass Effect 3, whichever one has the first one that had multiplayer, is it just 3?
3 was on
And
multiplayer.
where I remember when the whole EA BioWare thing happened and everyone was like...
End of Mass Effect 1, I think it was Mass Effect 2.
and everyone was afraid, like, what's going to happen because EA sucks. And they're like, oh, well, there's never going to be another Mass Effect without online components of some kind. And it's like...
But to be fair, that multiplayer is pretty good.
Fun. I mean, I didn't
not
play
saying it was necessary,
I didn't play
but it was a
that
lot of
long,
fun.
but like it was fun while I played.
Yeah, but see, the cost for that multiplayer was a rush to Dragon Age 2.
Yeah,
which,
and I get that, but we
Fair
are
enough.
seeing those like shortened, content-rich but very linear games in the indie scene.
Right,
But
and that's
because
why-
that's thankfully where we have like
well,
these
yeah,
extra
'cause
groups.
That's what's going to happen is that the guy from Scalebound is going to get his head pulled out of his butt eventually when his company folds, and then he's going to
Can
be
we
like,
get an
hey,
image
you
of
know
his
what?
head coming out of
Like-
his butt? And
Like, I'm gonna, like, this is gonna happen. There's gonna, like, the whole AAA industry is just gonna run out of money eventually.
Yeah.
Like, it just can't sustain itself forever because there's too much emphasis on massive experiences that not everyone can experience because there's too many massive experiences to experience.
People don't have time.
and it is eating itself.
Like, that's
It's-
why I will literally never play Grand Theft Auto for the rest of my life because I've played 1 or 2. And I know that they're not universes, worlds, art directions, music directions, storytelling directions that I'm personally interested in. So even though I know that they are extremely well
They are
designed
very
games,
fun to play too.
it's the same with Overwatch. I know
Yeah.
that Rockstar knows how to make a game and make it well, but nothing about it interests me on an aesthetic level.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to try and even fit that experience into my time when there's already tons of other games that I want to play that I
That
don't
was
have time to
for
play.
me. That was like Elder Scrolls Online. Like Skyrim. I think I put in like 160 hours in that game.
Yeah,
You
put in
could do
200,
it.
yeah.
You could do it quick. Like you can sit there. All of a sudden, 12 hours goes by,
yeah,
and
you
you're
don't
still
even know what's happening.
Yeah, you like wet yourself, and you're still
Yeah.
sitting in bed. But yeah, it's like they have, especially when all these games around holidays, all these games come out one right after
Yeah.
another, and like you have to like pick 1 or 2 because
Yeah.
they're so massive that you just don't have time to play the others.
Yeah.
But that's why we also live in possibly the greatest era for gaming. It is both annoying because we don't have the time to play them, but also like amazing because there are like, not only do we have these crazy back catalogs available to us from when we were kids, like when I was a kid, man, N64 launched with 2 games, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later with the Switch. 2 games, and I was so excited to play both of them. Like nowadays, I can't even imagine getting even the 5 games that launch with the Switch, or I got 1 game with my Xbox One, because not only is there a money component, but there's also this time component, and we don't need them. So I think we live in a counterpoint to this just like negativity of like, yeah, these, you know, there are too many games and everybody's copying each other. We have more choice than ever. Like you can find games, they're not all good. I mean, if you want to find a game, you go on Steam, you look for 20 minutes, like, I don't know if you guys ever played Commandos back in 1994 or whatever on PC, but they recently re-released they made a new Commandos game in Japan where you play a samurai last year. It's like, that game's 94. Nobody has made a strategy game like this in 20 plus years, and like, why not? There's now a studio who can make those, and there's enough people who are interested in that they can do those things. So we live in a great era for gaming, but yeah, there are a lot of annoying things. There are too many
we
Grand
live in
Theft
a great
Autos.
era for gaming, the same reason we live in a great era for music. Because
Yeah, there's so much.
many
We're spoiled
choices.
for choice.
Well,
It is-
because the big companies have lost a lot of power.
Yeah.
So that stuff can just be,
It's-
less. We're less told what we have to experience. Like, oh, like this is what's on the radio, or this is what's this, because you can just go online and find whatever you want.
And with that, we need to start going through the list because we have a lot of games to talk about. I'm going to probably skip some of them, like Hatsune Miku and a few others that I don't think any of us are probably going to play. But I'm going to go through the list of games that are coming out, just in chronological order, up to about E3, which is in June.
We don't have to talk about all of them.
We need to talk about the good ones, man. There's a game I played recently called Pit People. I don't know if you guys played any of the Behemoths games, Castle Crashers.
Just Castle Crashers.
Castle Crashers is a great game, and Pit People, which is on, like, it's a Play Anywhere game, so you buy it on Xbox One. I believe it's a Play Anywhere game. You buy it on Xbox One, you get it on PC.
Does it have local multiplayer?
It does, has
Good.
local co-op and
'Cause that was the
2v2
best part of
online.
Castle Crashers was
It-
being in your attic 10 years ago with 4 other guys.
It is like a simplified Final Fantasy Tactics. Yeah, definitely everybody there. Simplified Final Fantasy Tactics where it is just as silly as can be. Like, you'll be fighting a guy like with medieval weapons, and a dude will roll in like a Chevy with submachine guns, and you will have to then fight him. And it is awesome and hilarious. I suggest you check that out. That actually came out January 13th. From there, we got like a PlayStation-only game called Gravity Rush 2. I don't know if any of you guys played Gravity Rush on PS
I played
Vita.
Gravity Rush.
It was fun.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of it.
I mean, yeah.
2 looks better. I still probably don't play it.
I'm not gonna rush to play 2, but I spent a decent amount of time playing 1.
Yeah.
I was like, when I played 1, I think it was one of those like, this is really cool. I'm really glad someone made this. I'm pretty sure a lot of people really like this.
Yeah.
And I'm done.
Yeah, it wasn't a game for me, but it was very cool. That actually comes out January 20th. That same day, Dragon Quest VIII, Journey of the Cursed King comes out on 3DS. Did any of you guys get to play that on PS2? Or?
Yeah, it'd be really dangerous of me to buy that because I will play it.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
I have played every single Dragon Quest game except for the online one, and for some reason, I just can't get enough. No matter how archaic and old school, that's just what I want.
Well, they just make a lot of really fun content to play. Like, even if it's
fun.
simple, just like turn-based, there's still enough like hook that keeps you going.
Yeah, the animation is fun too. It's different.
Animation's really
And
cool.
also
Dragon
just-
Ball Z guy, Akira,
but I just
whatever.
I can't stop. Like, whenever I play those games, like, I have to search every house in every town, read every book. It's just funny. You never know when you're gonna like pull out a book and it's gonna have like a really bad joke, and then it'll say your main character rolls his eyes and puts the book away. Just like things like that are so funny.
Yeah, it's
Um,
an excellent game.
yeah,
So
and-
that comes out tomorrow.
And those games never have identity crises. Like, a Dragon Quest game is always a Dragon Quest game. They're never like, I mean, we're talking about the main series. They obviously have their spin-offs and things like that. But as far as the main series games goes, they're never like halfway through the game like, well, what if we made it this kind of game? And then they do this stuff. It's always
They
just,
know what they are and they stick to it.
And favorite here at Landboys animefans.com, we got Tales of Berseria coming out January 24th for PS4. I don't think any of us are going to play that. I just want to bring it up because it is probably the next big JRPG that's coming out.
I can't even imagine what that word means and what it means and relates to the story. 'Cause I feel like
Berseria?
I feel like I played
Also,
Tales of
everybody knows that
Symphonia, and I don't remember there being a lot of music things in it, but Tales of the Abyss was all music based. So who knows? Like,
Abyss music.
maybe it's like
Linkin
Tales
Park.
of Berseria is like, maybe it's like poetry and they mean verse, but like if you have like a Latin accent where you say V's as V's.
I
So Tales
don't
of
even.
Berseria.
Tales of Brazier.
Yeah, it's actually a Triple X
That's what I
spin-off.
thought.
But
Or
that-
maybe it's Bears area,
Bears-
and like everything
Bears.
takes place on a giant bear's
I
butt.
think that would fit with the trailer with all the bear characters. I was like,
Yeah.
what is this? A really strange happening
Tales
here.
of Bears area.
Bears are
Area.
really hairy characters.
That same day, January 24th, next week, Resident Evil 7 comes out. I have not played the demo. I've heard some good things. Did either of you guys try the demo?
I have not tried the demo.
I have not. To get back to a game that we talked about earlier, Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue comes out as well on January 24th.
I would play it if the title was longer.
I want
A little bit
to play
upset
Kingdom
how
Hearts,
short.
but because I can't pronounce that sentence in less than a minute, I don't think I want.
And I actually think that's the shortened version. I believe it has another like extra long name too.
I think Kingdom Hearts is like an abusive relationship. For some reason, I keep going back.
Yeah.
But I
Physically abused you
I
too,
haven't.
so.
The last one that I've actually played pretty much every single game in the series except for Recoded and the last one, Dream Drop Distance.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I could just what's funny is I like Chain of Memories, the original Game Boy Advance card battling.
Card battling.
I played that when I was 17,
Played that a
and
ton.
I could not wait for Kingdom Hearts 2 after that. So
Well,
I
that
love
was
this.
Kingdom Hearts 1,
So-
which was great. Card battling, was okay. And then Kingdom Hearts 2,
But
which
for
was
some
amazing.
reason, I just like I still have it, and I went through, and every once in a while, when I look at my back catalog and get depressed, I'm like I sell a bunch of games. I'm just gonna get rid of them because I won't feel bad. If I look at them, I'll be like, oh, I need to play this. But if I just get rid of them, I won't. I still haven't got rid of Dream Drop Distance. I just can't get the whole dropping thing just bothers me.
Yeah,
So-
it was a frustrating game, but
But my point was going to say, I probably will wait for the pre-Kingdom Hearts 3 collection of everything to come out.
yeah.
For you.
2.999 repeating.
Yeah. And then they're going to have a math solution to be able to get it. A game that probably none of us will play, but I've always been interested in the series. Yakuza 0 comes out January 24th.
Thanks.
Looks cool.
good.
It's another game that's like there are too many games.
Yeah.
Same problem. Looks really cool. Probably won't get to it. And that's most of January. If you have like some VR stuff here, but I don't think any of us are interested in that.
Tell us about February.
February, let's see what we got. We got a little bit of Fire Emblem Heroes for Android phones. I don't think any of us here own an Android, so none of us will be able to play that.
Wait, a Nintendo game for Android.
A Nintendo game for Android right after Super Mario Run was released,
Oh.
right? Oh, wait.
Yeah.
It was iOS only game. Thank you, Nintendo, for releasing one game for iOS and one game for Android.
I gotta
Everybody
say though,
wins.
I have played a lot of Super Mario Run.
And Super Mario Run is
It's
a
very
lot
fun.
of fun. It's a game when you're on the crapper and you want to play a lot.
It's on your phone?
Yeah.
This is my very first iPhone, so I don't know like what.
Oh man, you
Okay,
should get it.
you
It's
need
really
to
fun.
get
It's
it.
well designed.
Super Mario Run.
Super Mario
It's a
Run.
Nintendo official. It's very addicting.
It is
Okay.
pretty good.
Alright.
And then there's actually a game coming out for PS4 on February 7th called Neo. Actually looks really cool. It's another one where it's like, I don't know if we'll have time to find it. It's
I don't even know
a
what that
Dark
is.
Souls-like. Made by the guys who made Ninja Gaiden for the original Xbox.
Oh, is it like futuristic or something like that?
No, it looks like it. So you're a Westerner who lands on this beach, and then it looks like it's samurai stuff. I don't think it is futuristic. Guy has like blonde hair tied back, and then he goes and
So it's
fights demons.
It's a game featuring a Westerner made by a Japanese company.
Yeah. So we know it's going to be exactly honest to Westerners and everything.
So
is going to
it's Devil May Cry.
yeah, it's Devil May
Devil May
Cry.
Okay.
There is a game that I don't think any of us know much about, For Honor, coming
Yes.
out on February.
It doesn't like go in circles. Like it makes sense in a way. I like it because look at all.
I'm always thrown off by the lack of sense in Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah.
Well, you're just running around
Yeah.
swinging poles at people. You don't really like do much. But like this, you have
Unless
all
you
these,
have rings,
You have
you
all
swing
these
rings,
classes,
so.
all these different classes you can play through. Each have different stories. So like you can probably play this game for hours. I'm assuming. But
Yeah, well, it's Ubisoft, so there's going to be an open world, and you're going to be running around that open world. You're
Wait,
going to be
does
collecting.
Ubisoft doesn't make the normal Dynasty Warriors games, do they?
No, that's Koei.
Konami.
So this isn't a Dynasty
No.
Warriors game.
This is an
not.
Ubisoft
This is-
game. Ubisoft is known for their famous open world everything. There's
Assassin's
a
Creed.
Yeah.
kitchen sink where they throw every single gameplay they've ever
How
put
many
in.
bases are there going to be to tackle?
As long as there's 100 bases,
How
I'm
many?
okay with it.
How many like tiny graphic like let's say I don't know maybe you have to collect mail in this game.
Yeah. I
And
hope
so-
there's
and then like
and like
historical-
little letters.
little
from-
things that you will never find unless you walk over and a prompt pops
Yeah.
up.
Oh man, I hope you're right.
A lot
It
of
looks cool, but
I do
I'm
like
not
it
expecting-
sounds like an interesting concept at least.
Yeah.
And I can I
Comes
can
out
see it being
Valentine's
pretty
Day,
fun.
man. That's where I'm gonna tell my wife, hey, I'm sorry, I gotta play some For Honor, okay?
For Honor.
I don't got time to go on those dates, lady.
have time.
I gotta play
What
For
is
Honor.
this? I spent all my flower money on a video game.
Duh. She'll totally understand, man. Wives
She'll
wives
get it.
love that stuff.
Yeah,
Wives
they
are
do.
smitten by
Yeah,
that.
The last
cool.
Dynasty Warriors-esque game I played was the Zelda one.
Oh, Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah.
We'll probably get to that when we talk about Switch. They're actually doing something pretty cool with that. They're on February 21st. Halo Wars 2 came out. Is coming out? Did you guys get to play any of those?
No, that's my mom's birthday.
I played
so.
the first one.
It's your mom's birthday, so get her Halo Wars 2
Halo Wars
for
2. You guys
Xbox
can
One. She'll
play it.
love it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
a
it's co-op.
mom's best
Yeah.
game. Okay. There's some other smaller games coming out like Wise Origin or Ease Origin for PS4. Those are pretty good game. February 21st. Then at the end of the month, there's two big ones coming out. Horizon Zero Dawn for PS4, which looks cool by trailer standards. I don't have high expectations because Guerrilla Games are the people who make Killzone, which if any of you guys have played, it is like it's like a poor man's Halo. It is like they got, hey, this is
Don't
Halo.
tell the internet that.
Sorry, internet, sorry.
Jeez.
I think most people would agree
Frank.
Killzone is not as good as Halo, and they call it the Halo Killer when it came out on PS2. I have some high hopes, I have low expectations actually. But with that being said, everybody else has high hopes.
You have high-low
So
expectations.
I have high-low expectations. I have a love-hate relationship with it. I haven't played it yet, but I both
Okay.
love it and I hate it.
I thought Halo Wars 2 came out 21st.
High-low Wars 2 does, but love-hate Horizon Zero Dawn. which I'm very, very, very excited to read about, but maybe play depending on how it is. The last game we're going to talk about in February is Torment Tides of Numenera. As all of us here play the tabletop game, we're going to put an X over Josh's face right there in post, okay? Because he does not play the tabletop game
This is
Numenera.
the Tabletop Haters podcast.
He's the Tabletop Hater podcast. This is Pro Tabletop podcast.
I'm
This is
so very excited for Torment.
This is It's
probably
must be cool.
It's probably like the most exciting game for me this year. I kickstarted it like 4 years ago or whatever. Kickstarted Wasteland 2. I kickstarted Pillars of Eternity. If they had not surprise dropped, that's Obsidian. But if Obsidian had done a Kickstarter for Tyranny, I would have kickstarted that.
I would kickstart his Kickstarter. That's a new Kickstarter.
I'm very much
thing they have.
anticipating this.
Double Kickstarter.
I love the tabletop game Numenera so much. I love the world and the universe. I love those types of games. So I played the crap out of Pillars of Eternity, especially. I love Planescape Torment, which is the spiritual predecessor, which I can see the connections there. So I'm pretty excited.
It looks really interesting. I've watched a lot of trailers for it, and I think it could be a cool game. It does have the same motif that a lot of games have tried, where you can tackle every problem with either conversation or battle. I just am hoping it's able to execute that, because there are very few games that are able to pull that off completely, and it's a really difficult thing to do.
Well, it depends on. I mean, that's like, because you're talking like a game like Dishonored or something, where you're supposed to be able to not kill anyone.
Not even that. There are some RPGs
Or
like
like
Undertale.
Undertale.
Yeah.
But what I meant is that, like, I don't think that. I mean, I don't know enough about the overall narrative, but I doubt Torment's going to be such a massive game.
Yeah, but their trailer did mention that you could solve any problem through combat or conversation.
What I meant
so
is that I don't think that there's a version, like an ending of the game, that you can only get if you never fight anyone once.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that, where it's going to be one of those things like, can you actually make it? Because it's going to be such a massive game. I mean, it's got more words than the Bible.
Yeah, definitely. It's
No, it really does. I remember getting the Kickstarter.
Sorry, God.
Where it's like, it's not a thing. I mean,
We're gonna have some lightning.
Sorry,
come down
Bible.
right
This podcast will instantly be burned, just like
Yeah.
the Beatles record.
it has nothing to. The amount of words has nothing to do with the.
That's the
spiritual
Bible's
content there.
biggest selling factor was
This
number
is
of
very
words.
I think that's already been beaten.
Well, I mean, I've been beating it all day by just typing words
But anyway,
nonsensically.
I'm really, really excited for it. I thought Wasteland 2 was pretty rad. Wasn't my favorite, but I was really happy that it started this new era of computer RPGs, because I think that tying things back into Final Fantasy and Japanese RPGs, I think that's the biggest change in my taste as an adult. Is that as I was a kid, games like Baldur's Gate, things like that, I tried to play, but they just were beyond me in a certain way. They're not. It's not that they're so complicated. It's just that I didn't have a computer that I could like easily play things on either, so I didn't have the time to put into them.
Yeah.
But then as I'm getting older, I like the more nebulous Western style role playing games, like make your character, it's very custom, and then do what you want. You lose something where you lose a lot of character stories, not 100%. I mean, there's certain things like I thought.
Customizability.
Yeah, like I mean, Pillars of Eternity did a great job of having memorable characters. Like the Baldur's Gate games, the Planescape games, or Planescape game, they do that pretty well as well. So it's not like you can't, but it's not the same as the level of stuff you can put in a scripted game, like a Final Fantasy game, which is a like left to right story for the most part. So when you have all the branching things, you kind of have to tell a story with lore in a sense, because that's like you're unchangeable.
Because your character may be totally different one way or another.
But that's what I'm looking forward to, because the Numenera world is so fascinating to me.
And it will hopefully be a great game. It's actually coming out on PC, PS4, and Xbox One, which is not normal for computer RPGs. We'll see how it handles on the console. To do a little bit of playful switching, keyword there, we're actually going to skip the big Nintendo console for the minute and come back to it. We're going to just go through the games in March, actually, not through April or May. But on March 7th, Ghost Recon Wildlands, which is coming out on everything. Have you guys got to see any of that?
No.
It looks really, really cool. It is similar to like a Division-esque game, but it looks to be a lot more like sandboxy and fun. You can like parachute out of planes and then jump onto motorbikes and with 4 buddies go and take out some like drug lord somewhere. So it's a big co-op game that is very Ubisoft that we will hope is good.
They've always stuck to a formula Ghost
Yeah,
Recon
it's-
that's been it's a decent way to go through.
I'm
a game.
hoping it's good. It looks really nice.
There's actually like a short film coming out on like Crackle or something. I was reading about online.
weird.
Yeah.
That same day, March 7th, Nier Automata is coming out. That's a Platinum game that looks and plays pretty fun. I played some of the demo. Looks
Assuming
okay.
it doesn't get canceled.
Last minute.
There's Kingdom Hearts HD Duo, and there's like an Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 re-release. But the last big Xbox One, PS4, PC game for March is Mass Effect Andromeda,
Ooh,
which I think
Mass
all of us
Effect.
here are pretty excited about.
Yeah.
Specifically
Yeah.
for one reason. Josh, will you let us know that reason?
Yeah, according to Mass Effect's producer, there's going to be pretty good banging. Like, it's not just like decent banging, but it's like pretty good banging. So
That's
I mean,
why we're all there.
that's why we all play Mass Effect. We just want to see species.
Just constantly
Enter
YouTube those videos.
You know,
Yeah.
Replay.
that's the only reason I replay them. I just want to see how many people I can seduce in the video game.
I do like how they came out before the game came out to discuss that. They wanted to get that
That's an
round
important
file,
question.
right?
To
That's
some
the.
people, that's like the deciding factor.
I'm
about
not gonna
what
get that
they're
game
gonna play.
because
Like,
it's not
they're
good
like,
enough.
is this going to be a Fable type banging where it's just the screen goes black and you hear moaning, or are you actually going to be able to see what's happening on the screen?
I really miss Fable. Those games are
Fable
Rest
was
in-
awesome.
Rest in peace.
So good. Yeah.
You also have something here that says there's like customizable weapons coming out.
Yeah, this is the first
What?
time in Mass Effect. The last one you had the Omni Blade.
Do those go into the banging somehow, or are they like separate from the banging?
Hey, you know, I don't know how the Krogans do it, but
I don't.
it's-
Krogan's they do it, okay?
I like the way she says grab Thar's hammer.
Grab Thars.
Grab Thar's hammer.
Thar's hammer.
Grab Thar's hammer, which
Okay.
could be a code name for something we don't know. You know,
That's
it's just,
probably.
Oh, that wasn't just your note? They really said that?
yeah. No, I mean that's what I was gonna name my weapon.
Oh, grab Thar's
And
hammer.
by weapon, I don't mean melee weapon. Whoa!
It's a little like Alan Rickman in memoriam.
That was a memoriam. Sorry, this whole podcast has been about Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman.
So,
This
Well,
is the,
Grab
lost
Thar's
him.
hammer is Galaxy Quest.
oh, really? I thought that was a different character's.
Am I wrong?
I-
Did not Grab Thar's hammer?
By. Oh man, I can't remember that
I
character.
thought it was by Grab Thar's hammer. Maybe
Check
I'm
it up,
totally
look it
wrong about
up, look it up. We gotta know, man. Now I gotta know this
Beauty of the
stuff.
internet.
Galaxy Quest. There is no internet. Sorry, this was recorded in 1997.
Galaxy Quest.
Oh, it's 7. It's just
Grab Thar's hammer.
Okay, this is gonna be the moment of truth, guys. This is
I could be
if
wrong.
JP's right or wrong. Okay,
Mm,
that's what we're all about. Let's see.
by Grab Thar's hammer, that's what he says. You shall
Oh
be
my
avenged.
goodness.
No,
Okay,
we'll,
1 point
we'll
for
have
Eric.
a clip played up here.
Can we get a point
sometime.
under his face and name on his left side of his face, please?
Give him a tally, if you would be so
Yeah.
kind.
I make sure to keep up on my people I need to avenge. So.
But in all honesty, I think we're all pretty excited for Mass Effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Join us on the Podcast Radio Network at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, or download it this week with bonus content on iTunes, Mixcloud, Google Play, Podcast.com, Stitcher, and the ESO, Tangentbound, and Gonna Geek networks. As we delve into the pop culture cosmos.
Okay, so back to Mass Effect after that unceremonial pause. What do you guys think? Are you guys excited for it?
I want to hear more about a ceremonial pause.
Yeah, ceremonial pause is very beautiful, magnificent thing. This was unceremonial. It's disgusting. Oh, it makes me sick.
No cherry to fire.
So, Josh, what do you think? Excited?
I'm excited to play it. They've been talking about it for so long, and they've offered us glimpses of it, and it looks good. I haven't seen anything about it that I wouldn't like, but I did like. I was a huge fan of the first 3 Mass Effect games. I played them at least 3 times each,
Okay.
and you know
False.
we've been waiting. Yeah, you prove that.
False. He's never played Mass Effect over here. Put a never played Mass Effect over his head, please. Oh, dang it.
But yeah, no, I'm excited to play it. We've been waiting a long time to see this, and I didn't think there would be another Mass Effect, so that's what really appeals to me. What I'm curious about is the story, the characters. They haven't really gone into detail about any of them.
Brother, sister.
Yeah.
And will we be seeing anybody from the old series?
I think it takes place in a totally different galaxy
Yeah,
and
pretty
like
sure
hundreds of years difference.
100% not anyone else.
It'll be very strange if they somehow bring, like, I guess they could probably bring Rex over because I think Krogan's lived for a long time. I think that was the problem
Maybe
with
they
them.
could do like a Final Fantasy 13 2. It'd be like the ending of Mass Effect didn't happen.
Or
time travel.
Shepard becomes a Reaper. That's how it
Yeah,
is
there, and then we're gonna see Shepard.
And all they wanted to do was the Reapers were good guys. They just wanted to help people time travel. That's
That
all.
was the secret
It was just a
ending.
misunderstanding.
Misunderstanding. What about you?
I'm pretty excited. I've lost a lot of faith in BioWare after the Dragon Age Inquisition.
Oh,
thing.
I loved Inquisition.
Oh, not because Inquisition's a bad game.
Yeah.
I'm really bitter that it was such a freaking disaster to, like, I played through Dragon Age 1 and 2, and I loved Dragon Age 2, so I'm one of those 10 people.
He believes.
And
lies.
listen, I had my playthroughs meticulously crafted for when Dragon Age 3 came out, because they talked about Dragon Age being like where Mass Effect was about Shepard and your story of Shepard's character. Dragon Age is about the world, so it's like your decisions will all carry over, and then to have it be boiled down into the keep, which sucked, and having to like recraft all my decisions and then having it not work right, I was pissed. So I've lost a lot there, and then my disappointments with Mass Effect were mainly that they changed aesthetics with 3. I love 3. I thought that hiring the dude from the Fountain to do the music was a big mistake.
Yeah, the first one
it's
had
still,
the
it's
best
still good music, but the whole thing with Mass Effect 1 is that it's not about like cosmic lore with the Reapers. It was about like weird alien characters, and your character stories had that like retro synthy music vibe. And then they're like, well, let's make it really cinematic, which is one of my biggest issues with games, is games trying to be like Hollywood movies. Yeah. So my apprehensions for Mass Effect Andromeda is that the trailers look really cheesy. They did the same like Hans Zimmer
note. You gotta have those double horns.
And they did that they do for every superhero movie trailer and everything. And then I think, didn't one of the trailers have like super techno-y, like DJ kind of music?
I don't remember that. I just remember.
Because I just want Jack Wall and Sam Helix like retro synth soundtrack. Like I want that. So music is actually a huge thing for me. For
sure.
But I am looking forward to playing it. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that would probably be a lot different coming out of BioWare if there was no EA involved. So
I'm actually in the weird camp where I think Mass Effect 1 is probably my favorite. I had the most RPG elements, the best soundtrack. Came out of left field, something I was not expecting, even though I liked Jade Empire.
I was not expecting
and
to love
Knights
Mass
of the Old
Effect,
Republic. Yeah, it was a game where I remember picking it up, like, because I bought every game, and I was like, wait, what? This is awesome. I got the same day as, or the same week, or near the same week as Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which is also an excellent game, and I pretty much never played Modern Warfare, and just played Mass Effect. Mass Effect 2 was an amazing game. I did not love it as much as 1. There was that collecting the team element that I loved about 2.
Yeah.
And then when they decided to not let me transfer my character over from 1 to 3, I lost all interest and I've never been back.
Had a glitch problem, right?
I had a character face from Mass Effect 1, which they had not created. So, like, remember how your character at the beginning of Mass Effect 2, spoiler, dies, and then you have to recreate his body?
Yeah.
That's so you'll normally make his face different out of the pre-made faces from 2. I had a face where I just said, reload my character from 1. So I did that, and they didn't account for that.
I did the same thing, and I had no problems.
If you like, I promise you, if you probably chose a face that they brought in. I had chose, I don't know, like the douchiest face, and they didn't bring him in. I was like, I'm a douchebag, okay?
So you made your face is what you're trying to say.
I made me in all my glory in that aspect. But yeah, I think as a whole, that's a game we're definitely going to be looking at. There's not been a lot of talk about it, but...
which is probably good.
Yeah, I think that's something that's cool.
I want to be surprised.
Yeah, I think the idea of announcing a game 5 years and then be like, oh, hey, it's coming out fall of 2019. It's like, well, I don't care. Don't tell me until like a month before it's done. Let me know. And that's kind of what they did. I think they did the announcement this January. So, But now we're about to talk about the biggest surprise announcement that came out of October of last year, even though we kind of knew about it. The release of the Nintendo Switch. I can't snap, so there we go.
We got it.
There you go. Now we're just going to redub that over my...
If you want to do this, we can put a sound effect over
Yeah.
it, like an explosion.
Double the fire coming out of my
Yeah, like
fingers
sparks.
and then switch and stuff. Yeah.
Like making a farting noise. Like,
So I watched the announcement trailer that night. I have a lot of opinions about it, but I'd like to ask you guys your opinions first because I was way too excited for it and was, I'll get to my opinion a little bit later. What do you think about it?
I'm on the fence about it. I've never been a huge Nintendo person, but I like Zelda. And Zelda look cool. They don't have a lot of launch titles that look appealing to me, and that's my biggest thing. And also the accessories. Like, what was the accessories? There's nothing below like $70. Like, if you break a controller, you gotta.
Well, duh, man. We live in 2017. Everything should at least be $150.
What you buy, the console comes with what? It comes with a pad. It doesn't come with a game. If you need anything else you want to play with your friends, you gotta go out and spend another like $200-$300 to get everything.
Just do it. Don't worry about it, okay?
Yeah,
just
that's
just
Nintendo.
do it.
That's
okay?
Nintendo's plan. Like, we're Nintendo. People they're gonna buy this. Trust me.
Yeah, it didn't work last time because no one bought the Wii U.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I remember when I was selling my Wii U and all my Wii accessories, I had like literally a bucket to hand the guy
You're like,
because
"Hey, here's
you had
$1.50."
Wiimotes and GameCube controllers and pads and all this other stuff. Yeah, what do you think about it?
I'm excited-ish. The content. There's certain things that I just don't get. And I know that there's always that like online bit where people talk about how Nintendo has the worst shareholders in the world.
Yeah.
That like just everyone that has like financial control of the company like hates video games, and they just basically they're basically all these old idiots that have money. So I don't know if that really is just the thing, but it's like, just even at the price point with the rumors of it being so underpowered, that doesn't even really worry me because I don't care for the graphics thing for Nintendo console, but just stuff like that where it's like they're so nebulous on it, it's like, why don't they? I just don't. I want to know, like, why do you not? We talked about this the other day, but how they're like trying to recapture the Wii audience.
Yeah.
But the problem is that the Wii audience, they're not gamers.
Well,
they're
got a phone now.
Yeah, because all those casual games you can just get on the phone.
They're and you have like the old ladies who like to do the exercise games.
Right, but what I'm saying is that all of the experiences that were like cheap, casual, and slightly innovative, you can now do on a phone.
Yeah.
So there's no incentive for like your grandma to buy a Wii or a Switch. Like there was, it's like, oh my gosh, we can play bowling. Like
They don't even have the software. That's the problem. Is their 1-2 Switch, which costs $50, by the way. I don't know if you guys have looked into that much, but it is a game where you do not look at the screen, so it has no graphics, so to say, and you listen to a controller, and that's how you play the game. And like,
here's $60 for an MP3 file.
Yeah, it's $50 for this thing, and if they wanted to charge that much, at least release like Wii Sports or Wii Sports Resort or something. If you're trying to go after that audience, release something that they know, because the casual audience isn't some group who like, hey, let me go spend $350 and then an additional $80 for the double Joy-Cons and then buy the charging grip, which is an additional $30. I mean, we're talking about $500 to $600 for something that people are supposed to bring to a party, but it only lasts 3 hours. Like, it's...
And, like, if you have it at a party, like, who's going to play it? Like,
well, I mean, of course, you're going to have all your volume really low at your party.
Here's the flip side, though, is that there is not a single Zelda clone or Mario clone or Mario Kart clone that are remotely worth playing compared to those games.
They have the best software. The problem is, like, they had like tons of people, including myself, very, very excited for this.
Yeah, they definitely blew it. I mean,
they had the chance to do everything. Even when I read the battery life was only going to be 2.5 to 6 hours, and I read the $300 price point, I was still like, okay, who cares? I get that because they've chosen to not go after graphics, they're never going to get the third-party support, and it will be a secondary. But the thing that they've been doing time and time again that really bothers me is they're still making games for 3DS. So they want me to keep a 3DS and a Switch, they're still not releasing a huge software lineup. Like the Switch lineup is 80 games throughout the year, which is good, but only 3 of those games, really only 2 for me, I'm interested in. Zelda and Mario.
Yeah.
Like Splatoon 2 looks cool, but I don't even know if I'll pay $60 to play a game that I'm not. There's lots of other shooters. Why
I
would I
definitely
play that?
invested a lot of time into Mario Kart 8 already.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's when I
The
forgot
one
about
that's
it.
coming out, is it just a port of the old Mario?
A deluxe, upgraded one. But yeah, it's got new characters, some new tracks.
New tracks is a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Mario Kart, it's funny because I hate cars.
Yeah.
I hate cars, I hate racing games.
This is a car podcast.
Cannot stop. Like, when a new Mario Kart comes out, it's like all I want to do.
Yeah. We forgot to talk about the
This
car
is
in
the
Final Fantasy 15.
Scooter,
We'll
Scooter
spend all the
Lovers
rest of the time.
podcast.
Yeah. There's just so many things that they should have done, especially Virtual Console.
Yeah,
like,
they haven't even
Alpha
talked
Group.
about it. We don't
They've
even
made
know.
us-
Yeah.
They've made us they've really bummed a lot of people
Yeah,
out.
screwed the
When the
pooch,
when the
man.
Wii came out,
Yeah.
and they announced the Virtual Console,
Everybody was so
everyone was
excited.
like,
Oh my
"What?"
goodness.
And I was
got
like,
that.
"Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get to replay these games I
Oh,
love,
yeah.
and I'm gonna get to replay these games I barely got to play." No.
Yeah.
And
So slow, like a drip feed, 1 game a month type thing. It was.
And Nintendo, I don't know. I mean, there's some surprises. Xenoblade 2 is a good surprise.
That's cool.
I think that it looks weird for some reason.
Yeah, it looks strange.
I played Xenoblade 1, and I loved it.
Xenoblade Chronicles?
Yeah, Xenoblade
Yes,
Chronicles
yeah.
1 or whatever.
Xenoblade Chronicles 2 will come out. Supposedly in 2017. Don't
Or no,
believe
it's just
but-
called Xenoblade. So
Okay.
Xenoblade, I loved. I didn't play Xenoblade Chronicles X because they took away the best parts of Xenoblade, which was the story, because they made customizable characters, and the music, because they went from having the guy that wrote Chrono Trigger to a guy that just writes anime soundtracks, and you could tell the music was lame.
And it had lyrics. I remember watching someone
Lyrics.
play that.
That's one of
The
my
lyrics
least
while you
favorite
watch
trends.
cutscenes.
That was
That's distracting.
Actually, you know what's funny? That's one of the one criticism that I have of Final Fantasy 13, the original, is when there's lyrics in fighting music and
yeah,
background
it's
music. It's just
always
like it's just cheesy to me. It's
So-
but anyway,
I've seen that done well, but I can definitely, like, when I watch someone
I mean, unless
play
you're
that-
going to be Mistwalker and have the guy from Deep Purple singing on your boss fight song, but
Or like The Witcher 3 did a moment where you go watch a live performance. That was really cool. Or
That's
Dragon Age
different.
Inquisition, you go to a tavern and you hear live performances.
that's
Those are
different.
really
That's
cool,
different
yeah.
than like you're walking around in a forest and someone's like it's just weird.
Let's fight
it kind
to
of ruined.
love.
Like if you're like Halo had a really good soundtrack. To me, that was one of my favorites because there was no lyrics and everything was timed with what you were doing. So
Yeah.
like it kind of helps pick
You
up.
go over the
15
hill
had it
when you
actually
do
at the
that.
very end. They played
Lyrics.
the opening song when you turn
Yeah.
on the game. They
Okay,
had the
yeah, that was
sync
excellent.
song version.
I like that though.
Yeah,
like
I think
that.
I still might have liked the regular version because it's so good of that
Yeah.
theme. But funny story, look at the Xenoblade starting screen and the Final Fantasy 15 starting screen because the same girl wrote the music for both of those,
Yeah.
and it's like the same song. I mean, not in a bad way. They're both
Yeah.
great. So, but yeah, I was kind of a little bummed out because I was hoping that Xenoblade 2 would feature the like graphic style of Xenoblade Chronicles X, but it looks more like a Tales game. Like the characters look like.
That's
Cel-shaded.
how a lot of the games for the Switch look. Though.
Yeah, I'm just a bummer
I'm a
because
little
it almost makes it seem like it's
underpowered.
less powerful than the Wii.
Yeah.
With the Wii U, I mean.
I'm a little bit concerned about that, actually. They haven't shown. Supposedly, the new Zelda Breath of the Wild will run better on the Switch, but beyond that, every single other game they've shown is like I Am Setsuna, which is a very low graphic fidelity game for PS4. Super Bomberman R, which looks like it came out on Sega Saturn, like PS1 era, which they're selling for $50, just in case you guys thought it would be cheap. Like Mario Odyssey looks good, but all Mario games look good. I mean, Mario Galaxy is a good-looking game for a system that can only output at 480p. Like Nintendo's never been bad about making their own games look good. I'm a little concerned it's underpowered. I'm not a big graphics guy again. I don't think we'd be talking about this if all of us care about graphics. We'd probably only be doing a PC-only podcast. But it is definitely a little bit concerning that they're selling this $300 and that maybe they'll make the same mistakes with the Wii U. And if they only sell 10 million copies, nobody's going to want to keep making games for it because there's 57 million PS4s and 25 million Xbox Ones.
I think part of me was really hoping for a new Mistwalker game
Yeah.
since the last one was on the Wii, but I guess we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff. There's a new Square Enix game that talking about RPGs, Project Octopath, something
They
like
didn't
that.
really give a lot of
Looks
detail
really
about
cool,
that.
but it looks cool.
It
Like
looks
the video for it looks really excellent, and they've got a lot of stuff. This year is going to be really exciting. Just because there's not only these, but games we haven't talked about, like South Park and many others, that I think we're all really excited to play. But it's just going to be a really strange year because we're seeing not only the Xbox One console launch,
Yeah.
but we're also seeing the Xbox One console relaunch in terms of the
Scorpio,
Scorpio.
yeah.
But we're seeing a brand new Nintendo hardware coming out in March. That's not something you normally see. But yeah, it's been awesome. It's been fun, like talking about games, and we are just brand new and just starting this out. But if you guys want to ask us any questions, you can email us at,
There'll be some links on there somewhere.
and then you just put like a space right there, and that's what you
there's
cut
gonna be
us
something
off.
like here.
And then we'll put
And,
like these and these.
We'll have a name eventually.
And we're gonna put like a link
We'll
there, and a
decide
link
that.
there, and then
Yeah.
there.
This guy's
there,
making
there.
post-production a
There's
nightmare
a-
right now, so...
There's an advertisement right there too for
Yeah.
something else. They'll be
Or,
overlaid over that other
yeah.
link,
Yep.
and then a triple advertisement. Anything else you guys want to say before we go?
It's been fun. We'll have some more conversation for you in the coming days. And
The
if you happen to stumble upon this in the depths of YouTube, we
The-
thank you for your time.
what do you have anything to say?
No, I'm good.
The end.